Good day, everyone. This is a tea type podcast of 11 ABM 12, where uncertainties never last and the truth is served on the dot.
Are you brave enough to be honest to what you really feel? You should say what you want to say and let those words fall out. Up next is Brave by Sarah Bareilles.
For today's podcast, I am Acephryl Blue Legaspi, serving as your eye-opener for today.
I am Julianne C. De Leon, your bubbly host for today.
Before we start with our discussion for today, kamustahin muna natin ang ating co-host na si Julie. How are you today, Julie? Have you been well?
Okay lang naman ako, Blue. Actually, kakatapos ko nga lang mag-workout para naman maging healthy, di ba? Ikaw ba, Blue? Kamusta ka? At anong masasabi mo sa mga nangyayari sa paligid ngayon?
I'm doing great as well, and regarding naman sa isa pang question, nako Julie, ang dami na mga kaganapan ngayon sa paligid natin at masasabi ko na they're not that pleasing, especially yung mga nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas. Instead kasi na masolve yung mga present problems, parang mas nadadagdagan pa sila. And what's worse is that dahil patuloy nga na nadadagdagan yung mga issue, nadadivert yung attention ng public or yung focus sa mga bagay na hindi naman gaanong mahalaga o kailangang pagtuunan ng pansin. Which makes us think sometimes na this is their tactic para hindi mamulat yung mga tao sa mga katiwalaan ng gobyerno. Basta nakakainis, nakakagalit.
Ilaramdam ko yata yung gigil mo, Blue, ah. Sige, tara na at dumako na tayo sa main topic ng podcast session natin ngayong araw. Alam mo, yung tulang tatalakayin natin ngayon ay hindi malayo sa mga nangyayari sa bansa natin. Sapagkat hanggang ngayon ay makikita pa rin ang social injustices na umiiral sa ating bansa. Maraming tao pa rin ang patuloy na nagbubulag-bulagan mula sa katotohanan. Kung kaya't mainam na tatalakayin natin ang tulang, ang saksi ay ebidensya at napatunayang nagkasala ni Kristian Sendon Cordero para mag-educate at ipaalala na hindi lahat ng tao ay patas sa mata ng batas hanggang sa may mga taong abusado sa kanilang kapangyarihan.
Tama ka dyan, Julie. Ngunit bago natin i-analyze ang tula, alamin muna natin kung sino nga ba si Kristian Sendon Cordero. Alam mo bang ang ating manunulat ay galing pa sa kabundukan ng Iriga City? Based on one of his interviews, he stated that, "Until the age of 5 or 6, I know no other place in the world but Iriga City, where you will find a mountain that is said to be sleeping or dormant." Ika niya. Kung kaya't it is fascinating to know that despite the hometown of the author, he still managed to create this keen masterpiece.
Tama ka dyan, Blue. Aside from that, Kristian Sendon Cordero is a poet, fictionist, translator, and filmmaker based in Bicol. He represented the Philippines in the year 2017 in the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa.
Additionally, he was also acknowledged as one of the recipients of the Southeast Asian Writers Award given by the Thai royalty in November 2020.
As of this moment, Kristian Cordero owns an independent bookshop and art space called The Savage Mind in his home city.
Wow, this writer is indeed inspiring. Imagine, nabigyan siya ng Nora Honor Award aka the Star for All Season. Dagdag ko na rin that he recently won the Madrigal Gonzalez Best First Book, the Philippine National Book Awards, and the Gintong Aklat Awards, also known as the Golden Book Awards.
Wow! Sir Kristian Cordero is truly a dedicated author. And siguro ito ang rason kung bakit hanggang ngayon ay prevailing pa rin yung mga literature na nagawa niya. Sa ating mga listeners ngayon, pakinggan muna natin sina Andrea Lugtu at David Gloria, ang dalawa pang staff ng Deep Dive Podcast, para sa kanilang pagbasa ng tulang, ang saksi ay ebidensya at napatunayang nagkasala ni Kristian Sendon Cordero.
Titigan ang mga mata ng nabubulok na pinya. Sa Latin, ang tuyong balat ng palakang ginawang pitak. May mga bangkay na hitsurang talong ang natagpuan sa luwasan. May mga nalunod na mukhang singkamas ang kanilang mukha. At may ilang labi na pinagtagpo-tagpo sa iisang hukay. Hindi matiyak ang bilang ng mga bangkay, gayong alam na natin ang sunog. Sa isa ay 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hanggang mapagod tayo sa pagbibilang. Tapusin ang taguan, at ito lamang ang dumarami, nabubulok na laman. Ginawa ang numero para isa-isa tayong mamatay. Nahuhuli ng butiki ang mga bata para ipakain sa arawana. Piso ang bili sa butiki sa lugawan. Sinasabi sa alamat na pinatay ng binatang naging butiki ang kanyang nanay para ibigay ang puso nito sa kanyang nililigawan.
Kutuban na ang nanay ng butiki ay ang arwana. Pansinin, hawig sa karit di kamatayan ng tandang pananong, pugot na ulo ang tuldok. Sabi, dating tega ng reyna ang sandok na ginagamit sa pagluluto ng tegang daga. Samantalang sa ating mga bundok, patuloy na nananahan ang haring higante na naghahanap ng kanyang makulay na bahag na kakulay ng bahaghari. Narito ang isang di inuubos na mais mula sa kalsada. Maaring gawa ito ng isang batang naumay sa lasa o daga na biglang ginambala kaya hindi natapos ang pagsiba. O maaring ganito lamang ito, di nabuo ang buto. Pansinin ang mga ngipin, hanapin ang lihiming talim, kailangang huliin ang katwiran bago sumirit ang apdo sa dilim. Ang saksi ay ebidensya at napatunayang nagkasala ni Kristian, Sendon, Cordero.
Maraming salamat Andrea at David para sa mahusay niyong pagbasa. Before we deep dive sa pag-a-analyze ng tulang ang saksi ay ebidensya at napatunayang nagkasala, let us first take a short break. Listeners, please feel free to send questions using #DeepDivePodcastSaksi. Thank you!
Markado sila ng uso ng baril, ng mga makapangyarihang mapanupil. Markado sila ng masalmuot na kasaysayan at sistema, ng mga bisig na inaasahang protekta. Ngunit sa pamismo ang puputol sa hininga. Markado sila ng luhang patuloy na tutulo, sa inang bayan kung saan ang katarungan ay naghihingalo. Akay sila ng mga palahaw na hindi mahihinto. Sa lipunang hindi makalilimot hanggang wala ng merkado. Hustisya para sa pamilyang Gregorio.
Ang mensaheng ito ay handog sa inyo ng Deep Dive Podcast.
Nagbabalik muli ang Deep Dive Podcast at mukhang maraming listeners ang nagsend ng kanilang mga tanong using the hashtag #DeepDivePodcastSaksi.
Para masagot ang lahat ng tanong nyo, iniimbitahan namin sina Mr. Victor Raquiza, Ms. Nadja Alcantara at Ms. Daniel Nabong, ang ating tatlong respected guest speakers para sa araw na ito.
Good day everyone, I am Victor Antonio Raquiza, a senior high school student from the University of Santo Tomas. Thank you for having me.
Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Nadja Alcantara, isang literature professor mula sa Universidad ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat, Deep Dive Podcast, sa oportunidad na ibinigay niyo sa akin na magamit ko ang aking boses at kaalaman bilang plataforma upang magbigay ng aral sa mga nakakarami.
Good day everyone! Ako si Daniel Nabong, the Pride and Honor graduate of De La Salle University, Bachelor of Arts in Literature, and I am gladly here to be your guest. Oh, and salamat Deep Dive Podcast for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge towards this literature.
At ngayong nakilala na natin ang guest speakers para sa araw na ito, tara na at simulan na natin ang pag-a-analyze sa tulang Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala ni Kristian, Sendon, Cordero.
The first question is for Mr. Victor Raquiza from user @Mimio. What type of poetry does Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala fall?
This literary piece falls under the category of contemporary poem since it is a free verse, which means that it doesn't follow any consistent rhyme scheme or metrical pattern. It also consists of various figures of speech, which made the piece more interesting to read and to analyze as well.
Thank you, sir. The next question is somehow connected with Mr. Raquiza's answer. From user @CatBernard, what are the various figures of speech used in the poem?
The poem contains 3 kinds of figures of speech, namely personification, irony, and hyperbole. The line, "Titigan ang mga mata ng nabubulok na pinya," is an example of a personification since a non-human object, or the pinya, was attributed with human characteristics which refers to the eyes. Aside from that, the line, "Hindi matiyak ang bilang ng mga bangkay," gayong alam natin na ang sunod sa isa ay 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hanggang mapagod tayo sa pagbibilang, is an example of an irony and a hyperbole as well. The contrasting effect of not being able to know the exact count despite people acquiring the basic knowledge of counting explains the ironic part in the poem, and the phrase hanggang mapagod tayo sa pagbibilang is an exaggeration which makes it a hyperbole.
Thank you, Miss. Poetry has a lot of elements, which is why user at Pogi Ako is interested in knowing what they think is the most important element of poetry.
Actually, all of the elements in writing poetry are vital since they are the foundation of creating a well-structured and well-thought masterpiece. However, if I were to pick one element, it would be the theme. Because the theme is the central idea of what the author would like to convey the readers. It is what makes us, the readers, interested in analyzing the underlying meaning behind the poem. The theme adds cohesion to the totality of the poem that makes it a whole, and without it, I believe that poetry would be incomplete and its essence will go unnoticed by readers.
Thank you, Miss. The next question is from user at TikTokerist1. What is the theme of the poem, Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala?
To analyze the poem carefully, it speaks about the frail justice system that the country has, which involves not so powerful people being suppressed of their rights, while those who have authority are constantly abusing their power. We have to be honest that nowadays, there are a lot of cases which prove na hindi lahat ng tao ay patas sa ilalim ng batas. There have been a lot of issues going on in our country such as inequality, corruption, hierarchy, whitewash investigation, and cover-ups. However, the majority are still turning a blind eye towards such harsh reality.
Oh, so the poem's central theme is all about social injustices and the frail justice system of our country. That's indeed interesting. Moving on to the next question from user at Bangtan. What kind of reader is implied by the literary text?
This poem needs a deep analysis, which can only be properly executed if the readers are well informed and knowledgeable about the flaws within our justice system. However, I think that this poem could also serve as an instrument for those readers who are not socially aware to dig deeper about the different social issues happening in the country. Although it might be hard for inexperienced readers to fully grasp the theme at first read, the wordplay of the poem can ignite that sense of curiosity of wanting to know more, which will result in them seeking for more information.
Since the title of the poem is Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala, user at JYPFam is asking, what is the importance of evidence in terms of solving a case?
In solving a case, the evidence is a material that is placed before a court for the purpose of assisting a judge to reach a decision in a matter. May it be direct or circumstantial evidence. It aids in the solution of a case, provides elements of the crime such as fear or force, and will either prove or disprove statements of what may or may not have happened. A judge's decision is then limited to the evidence placed before them. Therefore, it is important that the evidence a party will provide must be as relevant as possible to support their claims.
In connection with the previous question from user at DJ Ford, how will you know if something is true or not?
Hindi sa lahat ng oras kaya nating tukuyin kung ang isang bagay ba ay ang katotohanan o hindi. Kung kaya na may mahalaga na ating kilatisin ang bagay na ito nang makamit ng atrasado ang hustisya. One way to know if something is true is when you experience it by yourself. You can suspect or create theories, but you can never know the truth without experience. If you haven't witnessed it, you can never be sure of it. Pero paano naman makakasigurado kung ang sinasabing saksi ay nagsasabi nga ba ng katotohanan? The biggest cue is kapag nag-maintain siya ng eye-to-eye contact habang pinakikinggan ang mga katanungan at habang sinasagot ang mga ito.
Thank you for that answer, sir. For the next question from user at Abby Reyes, how does the poem's point of view affect your understanding?
Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala is a poem written in third person, wherein readers feel that they are witnesses to the events happening in the poem. With this kind of view, it made me realize that Perhaps this is where Filipinos stand every time there are conflicts happening in our country. We, the general populace, are just merely observing as news of social injustices flash right in front of our eyes. In our generation now, even though there are people who have already opened their eyes towards the sad reality of our country, many are either, first, still blinded by the truth, or second, they are turning a blind eye to what's happening in front of them. With the kind of government we have at the moment, even those people whom we refer to as woke, or in Filipino, yung mga mulat na ang mata sa katotohanan, those people are still not able to use their voice as platforms for reaching out and educating others since officials are red-tacking them despite their constructive criticisms. This is the reason why Filipinos remain to be observers or watchers as social injustices happen in this country, since power is not entirely held in our hands, for it is mainly in the possession of those who have authority. With this, it made me understand that in a perfect democracy, the Filipino people would have governed the pulpits, would have held the purse strings, and would have held the power, for we are the people and power emanates from us. However, we are not living in a perfect democracy, and that will never be the case for us.
That was a deep explanation, Miss. Thank you so much. And now, before we further move to the remaining questions, let us once again take a short break. Listeners, please stay tuned for the upcoming questions.
In this day and age, as democracy stands at the pedestal of politics, only one form of power streams through our system, and that is the power of people. May 9, 2022 marks the time for power to once again make the right decision. This society rests on the upcoming election to move forward, and even though the system may appear hollow and directionless, there is a silver lining that rests on Filipinos' electorate to patch these holes with inks of truth, guiding the people with compass of change. Let your voice be heard, and remember that every vote matters. This message is brought to you by the Deep Dive Podcast, where uncertainties never last, and the truth is served on the dot.
Hello again everyone! Nagbabalik muli ang Deep Dive Podcast. So ayun, without further ado, let us move on to the next set of questions. From user at @IamJames. What are the things you have realized after hearing the poem?
Aking napagtanto na kung ating mapapansin, tila ang tulang nabanggit ay pumapatungkol o naihahawig sa kasalukuyang estado ng ating bansa. Kung tutuusin, matagal nang nangyayari ang injustices dito sa atin, sapagkat may itinuturi tayong tatsulok. Ang mga nasa tuktok ay yaong mga taong makapangyarihan. Namamanipula nila ang hindi lang isang tao, kundi pati ang batas. Habang ang mga nasa ibaba naman ng taksulok ay yaong mga tao na halos walang-wala ni singkong duling. Tanging sila ang mga naaapi o ang nakakaranas ng mga kaparusahan pagdating sa batas.
Thank you, Mr. Raquiza. The next question is from user at Liza Sobers. What is your interpretation of the poem, Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala?
The author deliberately points out the injustices happening in the Philippines, wherein countless lives have been ended and the number of deaths will continuously arise if this justice system will not change. Ang saksi ay ebidensya at napatunayang nagkasala. Coming from the title itself, this poem seeks awareness, help, and change, as those who are innocent take the blame, and those who are rightful enough to put behind the bars get away from their wrongdoings. Marami sa mamamayan ang nahahatulan ng mga maling paratang sa kadahilan ng walang pera at sa pagiging biktima. Marami ang nabaliktad at marami ang nakalaya ng may dugo sa kamay. This poem helps our eyes to see for those injustices. Hear those voices who have been silenced, speak for those who can't, and to stop being deaf and blind. We are Filipinos, and we are to stop these injustices.
Thank you, Miss Alcantara. The next question is from user at @IamGrace. What did you feel while reading this literary piece?
The author makes the readers furious by pointing out how wrong and deceitful yung justice system dito sa Pilipinas. Sarili mong bayan pa pala ang magpapahamak sa'yo na siyang dapat nagpoprotekta sa'yo, mga batas na dapat nasandatan ng mamamayang Pilipino, ngunit ang lahat ay bumabaliktad. Nakakagalit na kung sino pang duguan ng kamay siya pang nakakalaya, kung sino pang inosente ay siya pang nahahatawan sa korte. Nakakagalit na ilang buhay pa ba ang mawawala bago matauhan ng Pilipinas? Ilang buhay pa ba ang kailangang masayang ng dahil sa kapabayaan ng sistema na ito, at hanggang kailan pa ba hahawakan sa leeg ng mga taong nasa taas ang mga mamamayan na nasa baba nila?
Maraming salamat, Miss Nabong. Ang susunod naman na tanong ay mula kay user at KTH Files. What is the purpose of the poem?
Ang layunin ng tulang ito ay imulat ang mga mata ng mga Pilipino ukol sa bulok na justice system sa ating bansa. Sapagkat maraming mamamayan ang patuloy na nagbubulag-bulagan sa frail justice system dito sa ating bansa. Sa panahon ngayon, hindi na nagiging pantay-pantay ang pagtingin sa mga taong naghahanap ng hustisya, lalo sa mga taong may hirap. Ipinapakita sa tula kung gaano kahirap makamit ang hustisya at panindigan sa bansang ito, lalo na kung ikaw ay hindi makapangyarihan o walang otoridad. Nais ng tulang ito na mag-alab sa puso ng bawat Pilipino ang hangaring isulong ang pantay na pagtingin sa mga mamamayan sa ilalim ng batas, upang maaksyonan agad at huwag nang lumaganap ang kasinungalingan sa ating bansa, at huwag nang ipagkait sa iba na ang gusto lamang ay ang makuha ang katotohanan at hustisya.
Maraming salamat, sir. The next question is from user at IamCute. What images and events in the story are you already conditioned to approve or disapprove?
Honestly, I am amazed by how the author utilizes and plays the different characteristics of a poetry. I loved how he used talinghaga, which made the poem much more artistic and beautiful. Especially sa part na kailangang huliin ang katwiran bago sumirit ang abdo sa dilim. In this line, the author wishes to imply the importance of seeking justice, particularly in our country. It is ironic that this poem is dedicated to the system relevant to our country right now. I agree that we should find the real reason why we are experiencing a lot of injustices here in our country, for knowing such reasons will help us eliminate and lessen the ongoing cases of corruption here in our country.
Thank you, Miss, for that answer. So now we are down to our last two questions. From user at Pretty Savage, has the poem influenced or changed your perspective in any way?
If we are to analyze the poem, mapapansin na maraming bagay ang naisilahad ng ating manunulat. Sa likod ng bawat salitang kanyang sinambit ay may nais iparating sa mga mambabasa. For me, tumatak talaga sa aking isipan ang pansinin ang ngipin, hanapin ang lihim ng talim, sapagkat makikita nating nais na ipahayag ni Sir Cordero ang mensahe na we should be careful of the people around us. Based on the text, we shouldn't trust the outside appearance. Rather, we should be focusing on the real intentions or seek the talim that the author is trying to imply.
Thank you, Miss. And now for our last question. From user at Don't Wanna Cry. What line hit you the hardest and why?
Titigan ang mga mata ng nabubulok na pinya. This particular line could be seen from the first verse of the poem. And honestly, as someone who has been constantly interested in reading about the different social issues happening around us, hearing those words instantly captured my attention. That line speaks about our sad reality as Filipinos. Sa panahon natin ngayon, hindi maitatanggi na bulok ang sistemang panghustisya ng ating bansa. Hindi ba dapat ang lahat ay patas sa ilalim ng batas? Ngunit, bakit tila ang mga mahihirap at mga di makapangyarihang mamamayan lamang ang patuloy na nakakaranas ng pagsik ng batas? Lalo makikita ang hindi pagkakapantay-pantay ng tao ngayong panahon ng pandemya, kung saan mas na-o-oppress ang mga mamamayang hindi kaginhawaan ng buhay kumpara sa mga mayayamang tao na nahuhuling nag-violate sa quarantine protocols. Halimbawa nito ay ang issue ng isang tanyag na radio host na itago na lang natin sa pangalan na T, kung saan nagkaroon siya ng gathering para i-celebrate ang kanyang birthday kahit na ipinagbabawal ito ngayong panahon ng pandemya. Ang mga nahuli ay nagmulta lamang ng 1,500 pesos na kung titignan ay sisiw lamang para sa kanilang mga mayayaman. Ngunit, ang 72 years old na jeepney driver na si Tatay Elmer ay nagbayad ng 10,000 or 10,000 pesos na multa matapos ang 1 linggo sa kulungan para sa umano'y parehong paglabag. Tila paunti-unting nagiging isang bangungot ang pagising natin kada araw para lamang makarinig ng ganitong mga balita. Bilang mamamayan ng Pilipinas, sana ay magising tayong lahat sa katotohanang hindi patas ang lahat sa ilalim ng batas. At sana'y gumawa tayo ng hakbang bilang isang nasyon upang maaksyonan ang problemang ito.
Agree ako dyan, miss. Sana nga ay mamulat ng ibang mga Pilipino ukol sa hindi makatwirang sistemang panghudisyal sa ating bansa. At naway bilang mga Pilipino, sana ay hawak kamay tayong lumaban para makamit ng ating bansa ang hangaring maging progresibo.
Tama ka dyan, Blue! Bago natin formal na pasalamatan ng ating speaker sa araw na ito, ay nararapat lamang na magbigay muna tayo ng summary ng mga napag-usapan natin ngayon. Muli, ang literary piece na ating pinagtuunan ng pansin sa araw na ito ay may titulong Ang Saksi ay Ebidensya at Napatunayang Nagkasala at isinulat ito ni Kristian Sendon Cordero. Ito ay isang kontemporaryong tula sapagkat wala siyang sinusundan ng consistent rhyme scheme or metrical pattern. Nagtataglay din siya ng 3 uri ng figures of speech, which are personification, irony, and hyperbole.
Additionally, the poem's central theme is all about social injustices and the frail justice system of our country. The main purpose of this poem is to open the eyes of Filipinos to see such injustices. Listen to the voices of those who have been silenced, speak up for those who can't, and to stop being deaf and blind from such reality.
Nais ng tulang ito na mag-alab sa puso ng bawat Pilipino ang hangaring isulong ang pantay na pagtingin sa mga mamamayan sa ilalim ng batas, upang matuldukan ang social injustices na patuloy na nagaganap sa ating kapaligiran.
Dahil dyan, maraming salamat po kina Mr. Victor Raquiza, Ms. Nadja Alcantara at Ms. Daniel Nabong para sa paglaan nila ng oras upang makapaglahad ng makabuluhang mensahe sa ating mga listeners.
Maraming salamat din sa ating mga tagapakinig sa araw na ito, lalo na sa mga katanungan nyo na siyang nakatulong upang mas maging komprehensibo ang pag-a-analyze sa tulang binasa natin ngayon.
Thank you once again. I am Acephryl Blue Legaspi, who served as your eye-opener for today.
And I am Julie De Leon, your bubbly host for today.
We would also like to express our gratitude kina Andrea Lugtu at David Gloria para sa pagbasa nila sa tula kanina at pati na din sa technical team headed by Miss Dane Punong Bayan, which made this episode possible. Thank you for tuning in 11 ABM12's Deep Dive Podcast. We are from Group 3 at sana ay marami kayong natutunan mula sa episode natin ngayon. Kita-kits tayo sa